This video talks about the art of rejuvenation, the law of health, and the science known by the ancient masters.
The case of the worms and the findings of modern physiologists prove they were right. Their work shows they were not pseudoscientists as we have today, but true scientists of the first water. Delving deeper into the subject, these physiologists found that constant and heavy eating is the path to disease and premature death. That explains the high death rate of doctors who practice what they are taught and die early as a result. The custom of eating from 3 to 6 and 7 times a day sends man into disease, degeneration, and early death. The body becomes burdened with more material than it can use. The surplus creates a dangerous condition. It stagnates the river of life, damages the delicate machinery, clogs the life channels, and saturates the whole system with deadly toxins. 1. What did Dr. Eppingham say? All creatures automatically poison themselves. 2. What did Dr. Kreil say? All deaths are merely the endpoint of a progressive acid saturation. 3. What did the great scientist Metchnikoff say? Deterioration of bodily structures and old age are due to poisonous substances in the blood. And his dumb medical brethren jeered. Physiologists show that man, by his living habits, makes his blood 1. The sparkling river of life, or 2. The stagnant stream of death. Investigation shows that as waste and toxins accumulate in the blood, the delicate cells become flooded with filth and choked and poisoned by their own excrement, which the overworked organism is unable to eliminate. Many of the cells decay and die. All of them are more or less damaged. The person becomes ill. He is frightened. He thinks he is going to die and calls a doctor. What does the doctor know? Ask Metchnikoff. They jeered him when he explained the cause of disease, decay, and old age. That is disease. That is how disease is built. That is why the body sinks into degeneration and early death. That is the ancient secret. That is the broad highway modern man travels in ignorance as he follows his blind leaders, the dumb doctors who jeered the great Metchnikoff when he explained the cause of decay and old age. Ask yourself this question. Can disease be cured by giving patients medicine and more food? God forbid. Do you wonder why patients so treated so often fail to recover? Do you see why patients so treated die while yet in the flower of youth? Medical ignorance of the body's function is the answer. Upton Sinclair knew something of the virtues of fasting. He wrote, "The great thing about the fast is that it sets you a new standard of health. In spite of the fact that man follows a faulty course of living in most respects, and seldom concords with the law of his being, the constant renewal of the cells by the river of life holds old age at bay for a considerable period of time. That is the reason why some men live for a century in spite of bad habits, and without knowing a thing about the law of life or the body's processes. 1. Fasting rejuvenates because it permits the river of life to flow freely, thus allowing the renewal processes to exceed those of disintegration. 2. Fasting enables the depurative organs to purge the river of life of toxins and the body of diseased, worn-out, and low-grade tissues. 3. Fasting permits the body to clean house, purify its fluids, normalize its chemistry, and regain its proper equilibrium. That is regeneration. The rejuvenation effect of fasting was known to the ancient masters. It is positive and certain, and so evident as to be readily observed. The effects are visible in the external parts of the body and in the function of the sensory organs. Sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch all show marked improvement. The sense of smell, for instance, improves so much the faster is often nauseated by foul odors that are usually unnoticed by him. Professor Sergius Morgulis, Nebraska College of Medicine, wrote a masterly work entitled Fasting and Undernutrition, in which he relates specific instances of rejuvenescence through fastings. He states, the acuity of the senses is increased by fasting, and at the end of his 31-day abstinence from food, Professor Levanzin could see twice as far as he could at the beginning of the fast. There is more proof. Under the process of fasting, wrinkles, pimples, and blotches disappear, and the skin regains its youthful appearance. The same regenerative effect takes place in all organs and glands. Dr. H. M. Shelton says, "The fasting body begins to grow small, and in order to maintain the integrity of its vital organs, it utilizes all the surplus material it has on hand. Growths, deposits, effusions, dropsical swellings, infiltrations, fat, etc. are absorbed and used to support these organs. With no digestive drudgery on hand, nature employs the long-desired opportunity for general house cleaning purposes. Accumulations of surplus tissues are overhauled and analyzed. The available component parts are turned over to the Department of Nutrition, while the refuse is thoroughly and permanently removed." Regeneration of Life, page 93. Under the rejuvenative effect of fasting, the river of life is purged of its poisons and becomes the fountain of youth. Abnormal growths and dropsical swelling disappear, running sores heal, enlarged glands return to normal size, and the vital organs grow stronger, including weak hearts. H. Carrington writes, "The fact that hitherto weak hearts are strengthened and cured by fasting proves conclusively that any such unusual symptoms observed during this period denotes a beneficial reparative process." Vitality, Fasting, and Nutrition, page 464. Physiologists show that nerve energy during a fast is conserved and transmitted in more powerful waves to the vital organs, enabling them to improve in force and function and to eliminate more fully the waste and toxins which accumulate under constant feeding. The degree of rejuvenescence in such cases, says Professor Child, is in general proportionate to the degree of reorganization in the process of reconstruction of a piece into a whole. It is obvious that the degree of regeneration will not be so great in a decrepit man of 60 or 70 as in the case of that man at the age of 45 or 50. Now for an amazing example in the case of man. Doctors Carson and Kunde, University of Chicago, showed that a fast of 15 days temporarily restores the tissues of a man of 40 to the physiological condition, age, of those of a youth at 17. Astounding. Not only does fasting stop the onward march of physiological age for man like it does for worms, but it even turns back the hands of measuring time for him like it does for worms. We have found the key of the ancient secret of regeneration, known to the ancient masters, but concealed from the multitude. Mark 4:11. They spoke often of cases of rejuvenation, but their writings have not been understood. Now we can read their words with better understanding. "His flesh shall be fresh as a child's. He shall return the day of his youth." Job 33:25. "And thy youth shall be renewed like the eagles." Psalms 103:5. "These things worketh God oftentimes with man." Job 33:29. Modern science has branded these biblical statements as fables and fiction, but advanced physiologists are proving the statements are true. Fasting made the flesh of a man of 40 as fresh as that of a child's, and his youth was renewed like the eagle's. That is exactly what the ancient masters wrote, but in our ignorance we could not understand and refused to believe. To remain ignorant is to remain a slave. Wayland. Ignorance is the power that keeps man in darkness. Under the process of fasting, a man of 40 regains 23 years of life. This means that a man of 64 in solar years would be only 41 in physiological years. This explains why we at the age of 74 feel in the body and mind as we did in 1919. Of this test of rejuvenation, we base our belief that we still have 60 or 70 or even more years to live, barring accidents. One of our uncles died recently at 93, and he knew nothing about the law of life. Our lifetime study of the subject should enable us to outlive him 30 or 40 years. In this respect, we are encouraged by the fact that it is harder to bring back the condition of youth when lost than to keep from losing it. We keep it by living in harmony with the law. We have done that for 40 years and are as active and supple now as we were 40 years ago. An article in the press of February 7, 1938 states that Tapsi Bishan Das Udasi of India was reported to be 172 years old, but appears.
So this was about the art of rejuvenation through fasting and eating one meal a day, vegetables.